All people everywhere need food and a place to live, but the ways in which they go about getting these things can be very different. For instance, some people can grow their own food, even build their own houses. I guess you'd say these people are pretty independent. Others have to buy their food and buy or rent their houses or apartments. Now those people have become dependent on others to make or grow the things that are needed. I guess I'm like most North Americans. I work at a job, so I'll have the money to pay others for food and shelter. But I know other people in other cultures who go about meeting these basic needs in many different ways.
In the Ivory Coast, farmers can make money by growing cash crops. Kra Kwame grows cocoa to sell to his government, which in turn sells the cocoa abroad. The cocoa beans can be sold raw or in altered forms. In 1982, the United States imported $33 million worth of cocoa butter and cocoa powder from the Ivory Coast. A small amount of that money eventually found its way back to Kra Kwame. He doesn't have many monthly expenses except for the boarding costs of his son's junior high school. The bananas he grows among the cocoa plants are for his family and his village. His most important family food crop is the yam. His people, the Baule, introduced yams to the Ivory Coast 250 years ago. Now, most Baule families depend on yams. They can be stored easily and eaten year-round. Yams are especially vital during the dry season, when few food crops will grow. If there are more yams than the family needs, they can be sold in the market. Kra Kwame's daughter, Amouin, and her mother, Nzibla, are now going to take the half-hour walk to Mbayakro, to the market, to sell a few extra yams. After a bit of bargaining, Nzibla sells all her yams. Now she has the money to buy some of the other things she needs. First of all, Nzibla needs cooking oil. Part of her money goes to buying a half bottle, which will last for several meals. An onion or two will cost very little. Rice is also cheap and makes a good alternative to yams. It keeps well and is nutritious. Nzibla quickly calculates her day's expenses and figures that for 6 yams, she now has a half bottle of oil, some onions, and a bowl of rice with a little extra money left over. Preparing the family meal involves all of Nzibla's daughters, even the little ones. Yams must be cooked. The meat has to be cut up. The red peppers, which have been pounded into a paste, will add spice to the stew. Pounding the cooked yams results in something a bit like mashed potatoes. Like children everywhere, Amouin gets the job of washing up. There is no need for forks or spoons. Bowly food is best eaten with the fingers. How often have you licked the bowl? For the urban Japanese, meeting family needs means working at a job and making money. The Japanese have to buy most of the things that they need. The Naniwa Camera Discount Store is said to be the biggest in Japan. 6 floors of cameras, audiovisual equipment, telescopes, binoculars, photo studios, and even an art gallery. Sales run into the millions, and every last lens cover, roll of film, the smallest item must be entered into the massive computer system at the store. Mr. Nakayama is responsible for all the accounting of this business. For that, he is well paid, with annual vacations, a pension plan, health care for himself and his family, and bonuses. For Mr. Nakayama's son, Hiroaki, there is money to spend on his favorite hobby, model building. Spacecraft, airplanes, and cars. His allowance is spent in large part at Kittyland, a large toy store in Osaka. The rest goes for movies and ball games. One of Hiroaki's responsibilities is helping his mother with the shopping. Urban Japanese families cannot raise any of their own food. Everything must be bought from the store. A Japanese supermarket is almost identical to an American one. You could fill your weekly grocery list at a Japanese supermarket. Much of the citrus in Japan is imported, so the Nakayamas will pay a higher price for oranges, grapefruits, and lemons. Grains, such as wheat and barley, are also imported. Virtually all food in Japan is imported to one degree or another. There is so little space for agriculture. Japan manufactures high-quality products to sell to the world in order to have the money to import the food and raw materials to feed the 117 million people. The Nakayamas are dependent on their government and its ability to sustain a balance of trade, just as the supermarket is dependent on families like the Nakayamas. Within the Nakayama family, there is also a network of dependents and independents. Grandmother Sugihara, once young and independent, lost that independence to old age. Now she counts on the family to provide for her needs. Mr. Nakayama is the head of the household, the supplier and manager of the family budget. His major concern is Hiroaki's education, for Hiroaki must be trained in a skill or a profession which will enable him someday to replace his father as the wage earner. Mr. Nakayama can remember the days when the oldest son of the family, by law, had to assume the responsibility for his parents and grandparents. That is no longer the law, but is a tradition held onto by many Japanese families today. Hiroaki wants to be a policeman. He likes the idea of helping others and working to maintain a peaceful and harmonious society. Among the most independent people of the world are the Tarahumara Indians of Mexico. What they need, they usually can make. Jesus Moreno needed a plow, so he made one, using the design, the materials, and methods used by his people for years. The only part he didn't make was the metal blade, and for that he traded a wooden axe handle which he had carved. With his burro, Jesus can turn a good acre of soil a day. He made the harness, the rope, everything but the chain. As far as his cornfield is concerned, Jesus depends only on good weather and enough rain to get by. Each year's corn harvest is put into this corn crib. Jesus made the corn crib to keep his ears of corn high and dry. Without it, he cannot feed his family through the winter. When Jesus needs to fertilize his cornfield, he uses another ancient Tarahumara method. He builds a movable corral. The goat's droppings enrich the dirt inside the corral. You can see the green growing patches where the corral was a few weeks ago, and the weeks before that. Mrs. Moreno uses a handheld spinning wheel. The wool she gets from their sheep, she turns into yarn. When the yarn is strong enough, it can be taken to the loom for weaving. From the loom, the sheep's wool emerges as a blanket. The blanket can be taken to the nearby town of Huachochi and sold in a craft shop, bringing a little money to the Moreno family, which they might use to buy clothing. Hermilo Arteaga is slightly less independent while building the cinder block addition to his house. He must buy bags of cement and the individual concrete blocks. He may be able to buy only 1 or 2 blocks at a time because money is not commonly used among the Tarahumara. There is no rush, and friends and family are always willing to help in the construction. When it's finished, Hermilo will have a piece of work he can be proud of. So Kwakwami is both dependent and independent. He gets some money from selling crops to his government. Most of the time, what he grows and builds are for his family. Most of the things used by the Nakayama family are made or grown by others. They must have money to buy these things. The Tarahumara have little need for money. They make or grow almost everything their families use. They are very independent.
Where's one?